Boyce Watkins, and today I'm going to hit a topic that is a little bit sensitive. It's a topic that has to do with Boston Celtics coach Ime Udoka or Udoka. Ime Udoka was suspended for an entire year after sleeping with somebody he works with. What that means, I don't know exactly what the details are, but I thought I would address some of this because a couple of reasons. One, you guys know my background's in finance and money. And when I talk about wealth and protecting your wealth and what that looks like, it goes deeper than just managing your 401k or making diversified investments. We could talk about that all day, but protecting wealth also goes into how you handle your personal relationships. Give me a yes in the chat if you understand what I'm saying. That the wrong relationships can cost you everything. In fact, most of your life, the quality of your life is determined by three things: health, wealth, and relationships. So if you go make money and build your wealth, but you don't take care of your health, then you will lose all your wealth trying to get your health back because all your money goes to the doctors. If you don't think about your relationships and you build wealth, well, then you're going to lose your money because bad relationships can be very costly. One of the leading reasons for wealth decline in America is divorce. Can I get an amen in the chat? Give me an amen if you've ever seen somebody get body slammed financially because they got a divorce, or give me an amen in the chat if you've ever seen somebody who was high flying and kicking ass and taking names and achieving everything, and then it all fell apart because they got in a bad relationship and they were so emotionally exhausted that they were not able to actually achieve their goals. So one of the things I want to share with you as a finance guy, and you guys know sometimes I put on my black finance professor hat. That's literally what it says, black finance professor, is to be a professor that helps you understand all the different ways that money rolls, money grows, and money flows. And the reality is that this little situation with Ime Udoka is something that's going to cost him millions of dollars. It's going to cost him his legacy. It costs him his reputation. And before I dig into this in terms of how I feel on this, and I took my head off because I'm not just speaking as a finance professor, I'm also speaking as a black man, is I would just want to ask, was it worth it? Like really, was it worth it? Was it like some sort of gold-plated platinum vagina that really just is so wonderful? You remember in Harlem Nights? Remember Sunshine, when they said that the girl had the coochie so good that you throw it in the air and it turns into sunshine? Was it Sunshine? Was it that good? Was it really worth it? I don't know, but all I know is Ime Udoka is now suspended. He's going to be out for the entire 22-23 season, and this got my attention even beyond the conversation I had with my wife. I brought my wife in. My wife and I do a podcast called Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Alicia. And my wife is a therapist. She's also a black woman, so she has a point of view that sometimes differs from mine. I like to hear from different points of view because that's how you learn. That's how you grow. And so we had that conversation earlier, which you can certainly check out at drboycetv.com. But I came back to it because there's more going on here. There's something deeper happening here. And I get a sense that the story with Ime Udoka is not over. I get a sense that they got bombshells that they're waiting to lob over the fence at just the right time. I get a sense that he was waving the white flag because I think they've got more that they could release on him that could make the situation worse. Well, where did that come from? Well, I saw Matt Barnes, and let me see if I can just play this clip. Matt Barnes is a guy who was in the NBA. He's gotten into some fights, and he's kind of a hardcore type of guy. And he actually came out and initially defended Ime Udoka, and he actually shifted his opinion after he got the inside information. And this was interesting because what originally got my attention was I saw that Stephen A. was calling out the fact that all throughout the NBA, all throughout professional sports, there are white guys out there doing their thing. There are white guys out there getting busy, getting with women, doing whatever, white women connecting with white men. And this never really reaches the public. So he was kind of suspicious about, why is this story getting out there on him when there are so many other stories that will never, ever get out about certain people? And I agreed with that. I agree. I think that in corporate America, which is typically owned by white folks, the rules differ for black people. That's just reality. The rules differ for you. And we can scream about equality and fairness, and that ain't right. That ain't right. I was a guy who just, that movie Get Out. I just realized I got to get the hell out. I don't want to work me. I just don't. And I really believe that black men have to be seriously confronted with the fact that you're not welcome in their spaces the way other people are. The straight black male in particular is seen as a threat. You're seen as a competitor. They don't really want you there. Now, some groups are welcome. I'm not being that mean here, but the gay black men or feminized black men or emasculated black men are completely welcome. Black women are welcome, just like on the plantation. They were okay with the black woman working next to massa, but the field Negroes like me, we would get thrown out in the field. I'd end up, if I was on the plantation, I'd probably end up in whatever the plantation jail is because I can't sit next to another man and bow to another man's feet and let that other man tell me what to do. I'm just not built that way. Some men can't do that. Some of you have sons who are not built that way. And the best way you can prepare your son economically for the warfare that he's going to face as an adult is to teach that boy how to start his own business. You must put that boy in a situation, put him in front of some real men that are going to teach him how to have his own business so that he'll always have an exit strategy when they fire him on his day off. We can't sit around and just complain when we keep getting fired from these jobs and not realize that the same way he created a job for you, you can create a job for yourself. You just have to get the skill set. Okay. So let me dig into this a little bit further. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. And also just a quick little warning I have to give everybody is let you guys know that there are these fake accounts that pop up all over the internet where they pretend to be me. And I guess I don't think I'm important enough to be impersonated, but there are tons of these accounts and they'll hit you up and they'll inbox you and make you think it's me and have a conversation. Then they'll ask you for like $2,000. So just be really careful. Please watch out for that. If you see an account like that, please report them, get them off the internet. I'm making that announcement. So I want to keep you safe. So anyway, let me move forward here. So with Ime Udoka, first off, let's just say, obviously, breaking the rule is just not advised for anybody, right? You sign up for something, you sign up to be part of a system. There are rules in the system. You got to follow the rules. If you're in a man's system, you got to follow the man's rules. If you don't like the system, then you get out. That's what I had to do. When I was at Syracuse University, I didn't like their rules. I had to get out. I had to find something else to do. One of the big rules that does exist in corporate America is that if you are a man and you sleep with a woman you work with, you are putting yourself in significant danger. Let's just be clear about that. Give me a yes if you understand, if you agree with that assessment, that if you go to work and you sleep, and I'm talking specifically about men now, because women, for some reason, they don't talk much about the woman. Like, I'm really curious, did they suspend the woman too? Because for all we know, I mean, women are aggressive. Maybe she wanted him. I mean, look at Ime Udoka. He's a tall, handsome. Ladies, give me a yes or no. I'm not. Tell me. I hope I'm not crossing the line here. But give me a yes or no. Do you think that a lot of women will be attracted to a guy who's 6'5"? Very handsome, who makes millions of dollars a year, who's the boss of the Boston Celtics that went to the NBA Finals last year? What do y'all think? You think that Nia Long, the most beautiful, one of the most beautiful actresses in Hollywood, would be dating a man who was an absolute scrub? Or do you think that maybe there's a chance that other women were attracted to him? Give me a yes. Okay, so he's an attractive guy. When women are gonna, they're gonna make their move. They're gonna shoot their shot. But for some reason, when we're talking about suspending him for sleeping with this woman, we're not talking about suspending the woman for sleeping with him. Well, why is that? Well, the fundamental argument that people make is that the person in power is the one who gets in trouble. Here's the problem. Here's your dilemma. Men are more attractive when we're more powerful. Women aren't trying to go sleep with the guy in the mailroom. A powerful woman is not aiming down to see like which person on the bottom rung of the organization can I possibly sleep with. Let me find the guy with the least amount of education. Let me find the guy who makes the least amount of money up in here. Let me go down to the bottom of the corporation and find somebody to sleep with. No, she's looking up. She's looking up. The same way she typically, not every woman, obviously, but typically the women want a man that's a little bit taller, maybe makes a little bit more money, maybe is a little bit smarter in certain areas so she can learn from him. That's just what it is. Don't call me. If I sound sexist for saying that, then I'm sorry. I can't deny reality, right? So here's the deal. Here's the point. Here's what I'm saying about Ime Udoka. Putting him in front of women in the organization who admire him, look up to him, see his wealth and status, that really is kind of a little bit of a trap. It's a little bit of a trap, right? You got this black man right there, and all the women are like salivating, thinking about how they can sneak their way into this man's life. Now, so then at some point he's getting all this temptation, and maybe he falls to the temptation. I'm not judging that one way or the other. You can think about it what you want. I personally will say that anybody who's condemning somebody for having sex is a damn liar. You're probably the biggest freak in this room. Anybody running around talking about people should just need to not have sex and all that. Come on, stop lying. Stop lying. Right? You can't outsmart God. You can't outsmart Mother Nature. God and Mother Nature played a trick on you. They invented this really pleasurable thing called sex that gets you in all kinds of trouble. And literally, you're like the alcoholic sitting in the middle of the bar. So Ime fell into this trap. And the problem for him is that from a strategic standpoint, that obviously wasn't a good move. It goes back to my friend Tim Jackson in Dallas he said it plainly. He said, don't shit where you eat. I agree. You don't. Right? If you're in your right mind and you're thinking strategically, you're not going to go sleep with somebody that you work with. So clearly that was a mistake. Clearly he's probably regretting it. And what's interesting is that it seems like there's more to this than meets the eye. And so Matt Barnes, let me actually share the video from Matt Barnes that he did on Twitter. Matt Barnes is kind of a wild guy, so I was really surprised when he said this. This really has piqued up my spidey senses. So let me see if I can play this. Let me know if you can hear this video. I'm going to play it right now.
They won't come out and say it. And since I'm a part of the media now, and I try not to be like everyone else, I try to, report and talk with facts and honesty. And I clearly have to say last night, without knowing all the facts, I spoke on Ime Udoka's defense. And after finding out the facts after I spoke, I erased what I posted because this situation in Boston is deep. It's messy. It's 100 times uglier than any of us thought. And that's why I erased what I said. Some things happened that I can't condone, I can't back. And it's not my place to tell you what happened. If it ends up coming out, it ends up coming out. But that was the reason why I erased in my post last night, because after I posted it, I got a call from someone who had all the details, and the shit is deep. So, man, praying for everybody involved. Hope everyone gets through this. And I saw a lot of blogs picked up what I said, even though it was only on my page for like 2 minutes. So hopefully they pick this up too, for me being wrong and jumping out there without the facts. So that's where I'm gonna leave it. God bless, and I hope everyone.
That I don't know about, what do y'all think? He said it's ugly. He said it's messy, and he said it's 100 times deeper than what people know already. That tells me that this is a real problem. This tells me that that there's more to this. That more is going to come out, and that it could get really ugly. And so I'm going to go ahead and just stick a pin in that. I'm going to stick a little pin in that because we may be talking about this on Monday or something. And I think it's an important topic to discuss, not for gossipy reasons, not because I care about his relationships, but because this is about strategy and economics, particularly for those of you who have children or yourselves who are going to end up in corporate America. This is about strategy. What's interesting to me about corporate America is that if a man has consensual sex with a woman who happens to not have a higher rank in the company than he does, she can say anything about him and make a lot of accusations, even if they're not true, and ruin his reputation, ruin his career, and ruin him economically. That's just what it is. That's just a fact. I don't see anybody saying that she should be punished for sleeping with him, but I see everybody saying that it's okay to punish him for sleeping with her. This was consensual sex. This was not true 10, 15 years ago. 10, 15 years ago, when two people got together and did it, that's just what happened. It was the birds and the bees making it happen. And studies show, every psychologist on earth will tell you that there are 1,000 studies that show that when people are working together and spending time together, that proximity is a driver in their attraction to each other. You can sit here and you can say this is inappropriate and we shouldn't be doing this. Next thing you know, y'all naked in bed together. Those things happen. So really, it's kind of a tough dilemma. It's a tough dilemma for that your sons are going to face, and that some of you young men are going to face when you go into corporate settings. It doesn't matter if she was begging for it. It doesn't matter if if you didn't think anybody would know. It doesn't matter. She promised you she wouldn't tell anybody. Basically, the rule is that you have to tell HR who you're sleeping with. And I think that's a little bit strange because how many of y'all like everybody knowing? How many of y'all really want to fill out a report and tell other people who you're sleeping with? Give me a yes or no. How does that feel? Do you feel comfortable? Have you ever been in a situation where maybe you didn't feel like really like HR needed to know that you slept with that person and you know you ain't supposed to be getting with? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm just making this up. Maybe I'm not talking to human beings who haven't. I assume we're talking to human beings here. And the reality is that human attraction and human sexuality doesn't always fit in a nice, neat little box that's suitable for HR and perfect contractual relationships. It doesn't. It just doesn't. It's messy. It's sloppy. It's full of regrets and chaos sometimes. That's just what it is. So, first off, I'm going to say, assuming it was consensual, assuming he didn't do anything illegal, assuming he didn't hurt anybody, I'm talking about really hurt. I'm not talking about sleeping with a woman who wanted to sleep with him. I'm talking about assault or something like that. I don't think I'm not going to be hard on the brother. I'm not. I'm not going to be like, hey, dog, what you doing, man? Having sex with women? What's wrong with you? You a fool? No, I'm not doing that. What I will say though is that you have to make sure you understand that there are consequences for agreeing to things that you may not be able to follow up on. Making promises that you can't keep can put you in a tough situation. So now I'm 51, I'm married, I work at home, so I ain't got nothing around, to distract me. But, there was a reason maybe when I was 38 that I didn't want to work in a corporate setting. I wanted to be an entrepreneur and be free because I didn't want anybody judging my relationships, and so I really think, again, going back to this, I look at this and I see this black man, Ime Udoka, who achieved a lot. Let's just be clear. This brother accomplished a lot last year. He took the Celtics from being garbage. They were garbage. They were like 18-21, and he got them all the way to the NBA Finals. So that man is a great coach, and he's a genius. And you don't know if he's a good person or a bad person. This idea that somehow he's a bad person because he had consensual sex, I'm going to just call bullshit on that completely. I think that's wrong. Now, did he break the rule? Yes, he did. Did he do something that's less than strategic? Yes, he did. Did he do the immoral act of cheating on his fiance? Yeah, but you don't know the status of that relationship. They got a weird relationship with him and Nia Long. They've been engaged since 2015. Who does that? Who gets engaged and stays engaged for 7 years? And that's just weird. So you don't know what the situation is in their relationship. For all we know, she could have said, look, go do your thing. I'm going to go do mine. Nobody knows. We don't know what goes on in people's relationships. But what's interesting is that when you talk about things from a financial standpoint, how you relate to people that you sleep with or hang with has a real implication on your economic outcomes. Now, as a result of this, this chase after the golden poo-tang, which again, she must have a golden diamond plated platinum vagina for her to be worth all this trouble that he's going through. He's now going to have a stigma attached to his name. It's a 1-year suspension, but don't think that any team that hires him after the Celtics fire him, I believe they're going to eventually let him go. Don't think that they're not all going to be concerned about hiring this man who, oh my God, had consensual sex with a woman that wanted to sleep with him. That is a really tough bar to kind of put in front of people, and I really don't know what to think about that. So anyway, actually, I'm going to tell you something about what Stephen A. Smith said. Before I do that, if you could you please hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. We're trying to build black media so that black men can really have an authentic voice out here. Guys like me don't fit into mainstream media, so we have the internet, and I'm connecting with you so I can really use your help to make sure that we spread the word on these platforms. So if you could hit that thumbs up, subscribe button, I really appreciate it. And also, just to remind, if you want to advertise on the platform, you can actually go to drboycefinance.com. We reach over 1 million people a week. We're on Spotify. You can look up the Dr. Boyce Breakdown on Spotify. And we'd love to advertise your business. If you have a business that you'd like that's ethical, that fits with this platform, just go to drboycefinance.com. You can get a shout out, and I'll shout you out. Okay, so Stephen A. Smith spoke up on this matter on ESPN. Stephen A. is kind of sketchy. We know this, right? Stephen A. is kind of up and down. I met Stephen A. twice. I think I was on his show. He had a show on ESPN called Quite Frankly with Stephen A. Smith. I was on there a couple times. He was very respectful. I also met Stephen A. in New York when I went to the Madison Square Garden. I was on their show that they had down there. And both times very nice, very polite, very smart guy. I have a lot of respect for him. Now, but here's the thing, though. Obviously, Stephen A. has said some things through the years that that most of us can't sign off on. He's been problematic in certain areas for sure. Now, the thing with Stephen A. that I do agree with, though, in this particular case, is that he spoke up on just the hypocrisy that does exist in these white-owned organizations. And I think that hypocrisy is never going to go away. I don't think that there's ever going to be a day where black men can work for white men and get treated the same that black men get that white men get treated in their own companies. I don't believe that you can be in somebody else's house and be the king of that particular castle. If you want to be the king of a castle, you have to build a castle. Kanye West said it this week, and I've been saying that for over 15 years now. I will say it for the rest of my life. And who knows? Maybe Kanye heard it from me or something. I don't know. But he said. But I was really happy when he said it this week. And I only talked to Kanye one time. But when we did talk, that's what I spoke about. I believe black men have to embrace powernomics. I think Kanye's moves with the Gap and what he's doing right now, that's a powernomics move. You have to focus on ownership and control. In fact, think about this. You got the best damn basketball players on earth in your community. Why in the hell don't you own the damn teams? What is stopping you? Your ancestors 100 years ago had 1/1000th of the money that you got. They didn't have good jobs with college degrees and all these other things that you have and good relationships with white folks. They figured it out. They started a sports league with almost nothing. And we got all these guys running around rapping about how rich they are and talking about, I'm a billionaire and I'm a multimillionaire. Well, then why don't you own a league? Why don't you have teams? Why don't you have sports teams? And why do they have to be NBA or NFL teams? Why not start a league so you can bring on all your people in the process? Why not start a league so that you can bring in thousands of black-owned businesses and thousands of black experts and attorneys and doctors and people that can sweep the floor and people and build whole industries around you? Why must it just be one token Negro who gets one opportunity to own 1/10 of 1% of a big white-owned team? That means nothing to me, and it means nothing to the community. So let's just be clear about that. Black men, when you grow up, you're going to realize that the only way you'll have real power in this world is if you actually own something and control something and run something. Shout out to Ice Cube. That's why I was happy to bring Ice Cube on this platform several times, because Ice Cube is another guy who gets it. And all the conversations we had, I vetted him. I talked to him for extensive amounts of time, and I said, okay, he gets it. I'm so happy to see that. So eventually we'll all get it. It's just going to take time. Now, the other thing about this is besides the Matt Barnes warning, that makes me wonder if there's more to this, if Ime is in bigger trouble than we think. The Stephen A. comment I thought was right on point. White boys are sleeping with people all the time, but it doesn't get out there. Typically, when information like that gets out there the way it did, that's because somebody in the organization leaked it. This was deliberate. I don't think this just happened to sneak out. I think this was actually out there. The other thing, too, is that they're being very vague. What makes me wonder about this is that I find it really interesting that you can ruin a man's whole career with very vague allegations, vague, baseless, unproven allegations. And what do I mean by that? Well, we know that the two slept together. That's all we know. We don't know who it was. We don't know what happened. And then they said, well, he said something inappropriate to her. What did he say? What did he say? Did he say, I think you're fat? Did he say, I don't want to sleep with you no more? Did he say, get out of my face, lady? Like, what did he say? Like, is that enough? Like, to read in the New York Post, well, he said something inappropriate to her. You got to understand that this is anybody remember when Clarence Thomas used that term high-tech lynching? And clearly it was inappropriate for him because he was Clarence Thomas, but that term high-tech lynching, like sort of taking a black man and kind of stringing him up with something very baseless, like how they burned down all of Black Wall Street and killed hundreds of people because they believed that a black man touched a white woman. Right? He did something inappropriate. Well, that's what this kind of reminds me of a little bit. Not to the same extreme, of course. Nobody's going to die here. But I want you to really think about this. When you're talking about something as serious as a man's reputation, you're talking about his family, you're talking about his wealth, you're talking about the career he's worked very hard for. I read Ime Udoka's entire bio, and this man's been working his whole entire life to get this opportunity. And when he got it, my man killed it. He took that team all the way to the NBA Finals. I couldn't believe it. So you're ruining all of that because he slept with somebody and he allegedly said something inappropriate that we don't even know what he actually said. I really kind of think we need to sort of process like what that means, what kind of a crazy world we live in. In my view, if you're going to ruin a person's life, at least be sure that you got the right guy. If you're gonna destroy somebody's whole legacy and ruin them economically, at least make sure you got some good evidence. Make sure you got some proof that he's really a danger and a threat to the organization. Like, I'd be curious, like if Ime Udoka walks down the hallway and there are women in the hall, do they have to run away for fear of their lives? Are they afraid he's going to harass the hell out of all of them and chase them down the hallway and pull the skirts down? Like what does it really mean to argue that this man is a danger to other people, or that he deserves to be sort of tarred and feathered in public the way that he is right now? I would argue that race certainly plays a big part in this. Not to say that white men haven't gotten the same treatment. Some of them have. Some of them can cover their own stuff, but some of them have been treated that way. But I'm going to just make this fundamental basic premise or suggestion that perhaps we've gotten to a world where casual sex is being seen almost like it's a type of assault. That somehow a man responding to a woman who's attracted to him and him responding to her on the job and not reporting it to HR somehow makes him into a person that should be labeled in a way that's going to ruin his whole life, ruin his whole career. I don't know if we can really outlaw sex. And here's the other thing too that's really interesting is that they're not really doing it to women. I haven't seen too many cases of women losing everything because they were attracted to a man on the job. I don't know, ladies, have you ever had a job and been attracted to a man that you worked with? Yes, if you've ever had that happen. And maybe a guy you weren't even supposed to be attracted to. Have you ever had somebody feel like you should be destroyed for the rest of your life because you were attracted to him, or because you shot your shot, or you slept with him, or whatever? What do you think? I don't know. So I think that's the part that really kind of bothers me. And that's the part that I think where you have to warn your son. So here's the deal. If you're a young black man, you got one or two choices. Either work for the man and go by his rules. That's it. You got to follow the rules. Ime Udoka didn't follow the rules. Now he's suffering the consequences, which I think are going to last for the rest of his career. Or you go and you start your own business so that you get to make the rules. I'm not saying you can go and sexually harass people. I'm not saying you can go sleep around and do whatever you want. I'm not saying your wife won't kick you in your ass if you get caught cheating. I'm not saying none of that. All those things might still apply, but at the very least, you would be in a space where at least you would have a fair hearing before you are judged inappropriately. In this particular space, the judgments are swift and they're very harsh. And I think that the black man is a special target because that sexual vulnerability is a weakness that men have had for a very long time. Women have weaknesses too in other areas, but in sex, you know what it is. Men get in a lot of trouble for that. And I really think that any man who wants to go into leadership should understand and really think about how important sexual discipline is to protecting your leadership. You can't go chasing around anything with a big butt and a smile. You can't go listen to these rappers that'll tell you that you got to go and just get down with every girl that you see. That will eventually catch up with you. Eventually, all it takes is for one person to tell a lie on you. You're done. All it takes is for one person. They can set you up and get you robbed. They can somebody gets pregnant. Next thing you know, you broke because you're paying all this child support. You got STDs out there, and whatever, right? And so ultimately, I think that men at the very least should understand that you may think that when you sleep with a woman, the risk is on the woman, that she's the one taking the risk because she could be assaulted or whatever, right? Or get pregnant or catch a disease. Well, you're taking a risk too, especially when you have something to lose. A man who is wealthy and powerful and successful has a lot to lose. So that man has to be very thoughtful about the women he lays down with. If you are a wealthy, powerful, successful man, especially if you're famous, and you go laying down with a bunch of raggedy thoughts out of the strip club, it's only a matter of time before you get destroyed because you are the paper tiger. You are the one living in the glass house. You are the one where all she's got to do is tell one story, call one person, say, oh, he raped me, and no evidence. They will come to your job and take you away in handcuffs. And by the time you done spent all your money defending your reputation, done spent 3 years in court, done lost everything, then you might get your freedom back if you're really lucky. Chances are you won't even get that. And at the very least, people will label you in a way that is unfair. And again, I'm talking to the men who would never rape anybody. I'm talking to the men who are not bad people. The rapists, of course, they don't count. I'm not talking about men who disrespect women. I'm talking to the good guys. I'm talking to the guys that really, that sleep with a woman because they like her and she likes him. Right? I'm talking about the guys who would never, ever assault anybody, who think that sexual assault is a terrible thing. I'm talking to the guys who make reasonable choices, who like, yeah, okay, I got a little bit of money now. The girls like me. I'm going, sold my oats a little bit, right? I'm not judging any of that. But what I'm saying to you is that you just have to understand that the more you gain, the more you have to lose. I in my own life, I'm not a mega star. I'm not super famous, but I can go to cities around the world and be recognized on the street by Black people. That's been my life for the last 10, 12, 14 years. And even when my life changed, I had to be really careful about who I let in my space, because there are crazy people out here. There are vindictive people out here. There are emotionally triggered people out here that'll go off and decide they want to just tell whatever story about you. And the thing is that their interaction with you is interesting enough that they will tell stories about you for the rest of your life. You may have even forgotten. I have people that I don't even remember ever meeting who have like these Boyce Watkins stories, like, oh, I saw Boyce in the grocery store and he was wild and now he cussed out the cashier, whatever. I'm like, I don't even remember going to that grocery. What are you talking about? But that's what happens. These things occur. So for a guy like Ime Udoka, here's my point. I'm saying that, look, the hardest part I think about being a successful Black man like him, where you're tall and you're handsome and you're wealthy and you're powerful and all these other things, is that the minute you start getting all that attention from all these women that want to be around you because you're rich and famous and successful, the minute you start getting those extra so-called benefits of being the man, is the actual time where you're like the most vulnerable to being destroyed, harmed, or exploited in some horrible way. Right? Do you get what I'm saying? It's like I'm really hungry and I want to really work hard so I can save up money for a pizza. And as soon as I get the money to buy a pizza, I find out that I'm diabetic or something and I can't eat the pizza or it's gonna kill me, right? Or whatever, right? That's a bad analogy, but you get the point, right? It's like it's the crazy paradox that the minute you have access to all the vagina you want is the moment where any situation can literally destroy you just like that. Because when he was broke, when he was a regular guy, this story would have had no legs. When he was just a regular dude, he could have sex with somebody and it wouldn't be a big deal. Nobody would care. But now you're the man at the Boston Celtics. And not only does the world care and pay attention, the whole world's saying your name now, but that's also the time where you're getting the most attention, right? So really, just from an advisory standpoint, I think men have to think about this. I really do. And I think women have their own things they have to strategically plan for. Don't get me wrong. But I really encourage anybody who has a son, you got to have these conversations with your son. Because what's going to happen is he's going to do, if he's a regular heterosexual male and he's ambitious, he's going to do what Chris Rock said. Chris Rock said the reason men work hard and make money and all this is so they can get more women. That's more attraction from women. That's our way of being beautiful. That's our way of getting what we want. So you become the man. You worked hard to become the man. Now you are the man, and all these women are looking at you. And what you're doing is you're kind of looking at it in a way that is not consistent with what's going to preserve and protect your success, right? You're looking at it in a way that says, look at all these women I have access to, instead of looking at it in a way to say, I got to be really careful because I have so many people paying attention to me now. Do you know this? Let me tell you this. This is something that I saw that most people will never see. I wrote a story years ago. I used to write for AOL Black Voices, and I wrote a story about Lawrence Taylor, who was a great like a linebacker. So I think he was a linebacker, defensive lineman with the New York Giants, and he was just ferocious. And he was on some drugs and stuff, but he was a badass dude. And so Lawrence Taylor, years later, got in a situation where there was a 16-year-old prostitute that he slept with. And she was suing him. She was with Gloria Allred. She was on TV and she was crying and saying, this is what happened. So I just wrote the article based on what the media said. Well, I got an email from a lady who knew the girl that was making the accusation. And long story short, I don't want to go through the whole story, but I sat on the phone with this lady and my jaw was on the floor for about 2 hours because she was explaining to me how strategic a lot of the young women she knows are when it comes to putting men in vulnerable situations. She said that they will study the rappers, they study the athletes, they find out, they research like scientists, they find out, who likes jump offs, who's vulnerable to a pretty girl with a big booty or whatever, right? And then they would get these guys in these situations where they would literally use date rape drugs. They would drug him. Like Cardi B talked about this too. Cardi B let y'all in on some of the game too, but y'all just didn't pay attention. But they would put date rape drugs in their drink. And then while the guy was asleep, they would take pictures of the guy in the bed with a young girl. And then when the guy woke up, they would threaten to send the pictures to his wife, to the media, and to his team to get him to lose his contract. So a lot of guys would basically pay the money. They charge him like $10,000 or $15,000 to get out of the situation. A lot of guys would pay. Some guys didn't. She claimed that Lawrence Taylor was one of the guys who refused to pay. Next thing you know, this girl is on standing next to Gloria Allred saying, I was underage. He did this to me, did that to me, right? So what I'm saying to you, and I'm not saying that every situation in which an allegation is made is false. I'm not saying that at all. That would be silly to say that. Right. What I'm saying is that it would be a fairer world if every allegation required proof. You don't live in that world, black man. You just don't. You live in a world where an accusation is seen as proof. That's the proof, especially if it's a white woman accusing you of something. The fact that the white woman accused you, that's proof enough for us. That's enough proof for them to take away everything you got, to ruin your whole entire life and ruin your reputation and have you labeled as a rapist. And what people don't acknowledge is that is very traumatic. I met a young man at one of my events in Houston, and this kid, he followed me around. He kept asking me questions. He was following me around. He followed me to the bathroom. He followed me all around the building. I was like, what? Wow, this kid's he's really into this stuff. Why is he following me around? And he finally talked to me. I took a second. I was able to talk to him for a second. And he said, Dr. Boyce, I have to be honest. He said, when I was in high school, he was about 19 years old. He said, when I was in high school, I didn't listen to people like you. I thought people like you were just full of crap and just screaming racism on every corner or whatever. And he said, I was in high school. I made good grades. I had a white girlfriend. And this girl that I was dating, I slept with her and she accused me of assaulting her. And so he said he thought that now this guy was a straight A student. He had been accepted to like Harvard, Yale, Stanford, all these top schools. And he said that when I got accused, all my friends, all my white friends especially, were treating me like I was guilty. They wouldn't talk to me anymore. They were basically acting like they didn't want to hear anything I had to say. And he said I was so angry because I didn't do it. And he said the only people that stood next to me, that supported me, were the black women. He said I was in a play called Black Lives Matter. And in that play called Black Lives Matter, all my white friends stopped talking to me. We're doing a play called Black Lives Matter. He said the only people that listened to me were the black women. And so ultimately, he said it was finally revealed that she had a mental health condition. She was on some medication, and that that he was able to prove that she lied. So all the charges were taken off. They were just kind of like, okay, you can go now, right? But he said, but that was traumatizing. He said, I'm scared of white people now. He said, I'm scared of women now. He said, I don't know what to do. So he had all this trauma. This 19-year-old kid had all this trauma inside him, and he didn't know what to do with it. He was scared to death, and nobody wants to hear it. That's the thing. Nobody hears it. Everybody can empathize with the pain of a white woman. Lord Jesus, a white woman cry for 2 minutes. We like, oh, but people will hear black women a lot more than they'll hear from black men. They don't respond, and the thing is that it's traumatizing. Like, for example, when we talk about Joe Biden, and people say, well, why won't you support Joe Biden? Why won't you black men come around and vote Democrat like the rest of us? And I'm like, well, first of all, I'm not going to vote for a politician if they're not going to give me anything. But then second of all, would you support a politician who sent people just like you to prison to be beaten and raped for 20 years because they sold a little bit of dope? Like, would that make you feel like somebody you should support? Do you understand? Like, oh, no, well, that's old, Dr. Woods. You got to let that go. No, it ain't old. It ain't never old. Trauma don't never get old. It stays in your brain like it was yesterday. I remember just a few years ago when I was young, seeing a lot of my friends getting 20, 30-year prison sentences under Biden's crack laws, that he didn't impose on his son. He didn't impose it on his son. He gave it to us, right? Biden's crack laws, where they would send people to prison for the rest of their life because they were in the wrong car with somebody, or because they made a phone call introducing one dude to another dude and didn't even know that these dudes were getting together to do a drug deal, getting you on RICO charges. That is traumatizing. It's traumatizing to experience it. It's traumatizing to watch it happen. So what I'm saying is that overall, let me calm down, because I'm probably getting triggered here. My wife is a therapist. She probably said, boy, you're having an episode. You need to calm down. So I'm going to calm down. I'm not going to sound too crazy, but I think some things are serious enough that we need to be a little bit crazy in terms of being honest and clear and standing up for these things. We've got to stop letting people ignore our pain or act like what we go through doesn't matter. Right? I'm sorry. I'm sorry what other people feel. I feel bad for anybody that's a victim of any crime from any person anywhere. But I want you to also acknowledge that there are lots of black men who don't even get access to fair justice. How is it in the world that you just have this world where somebody can just accuse you of something and have no evidence, and they ruin you anyway? They ruin your life anyway. That ain't right. That's not fair. So with Ime Udoka, I'm going to say, you know what? I accuse him of sleeping with somebody he works with in a consensual fashion, which was unstrategic. I accuse him of being undisciplined when it came to who he was sleeping with. I accuse him, if he said something inappropriate, I accuse him of being a little bit rude or disrespectful. That's all I know. But in my view, to act like this is some type of assault, like he really did something just horribly wrong. No, he didn't. I don't think he did anything wrong by sleeping with somebody who wanted to sleep with him. What he did wrong was he broke the rules of the Boston Celtics. This circles back to the fact that the black man must own things in order to have true freedom in America. If you never learn how to own things and create entities for yourself, you will never have real power in this country. You will always be forced to submit to somebody else's rules. Somebody else is always going to impose their morality onto you, and they're always going to do it in a way that represents a complete double standard. So if you say to me, if you come to me, you say, well, let me tell you about the microaggression. Let me tell you, on my job, they don't treat the blacks like the way they treat the whites. Of course they don't. That is not a black-owned company. The bias is not in your favor. That's like a basketball team saying, damn, whenever we play in their arena, their fans cheer for them and don't nobody cheer for us. That's because it's their arena. When you're at a home game, then you're the home team. You get the benefits of playing at home. The cheerleaders are there for you. The crowd is there for you. But when you're on somebody else's court, you're playing an away game. So the bar is going to be set a little higher. If you look at NBA winning percentages and you compare how many wins do teams typically have at home versus how many wins they have on the road, they lose a lot more games on the road than they lose at home. That's because you don't have home team advantage. So when you are sending your children as adults across the city to go work for white folks, work for people who don't like them, don't want them around, don't got nothing in common with them, don't even respect them, then you're putting them in a situation where they will never be able to play with home field advantage. They'll never know what it's like to have the privilege of being the home team, because you think that that's white privilege when really that's just the privilege of common sense. That's just the privilege of preparation. That's the privilege of having ownership. That's the privilege of having people in your family that cared enough about you to leave you some inheritance money, to leave you a business, to teach you some skills, to prepare you for battle. That's called preparation privilege. That ain't all white privilege. Of course, it seems like white privilege because white people are running the entities, but no, this is not white privilege. White privilege is something else. This is just the privilege of playing for the home team. Home field advantage is not the same as racism. It's just not. And if you think that we're ever going to have a day where the home team and the away team are treated the same on the court that is owned by the home team, then you're a damn fool. You will never have a day where a black man will be treated the same in a white-owned company as a white man is treated. That day will never, ever occur. So ultimately, I think that generally situations like this remind me of why when I go talk to my son, I'm his bonus dad. He's got a dad that also talks to him about these same things. We're on the same page. When I talk to him, I tell him, look, man, you are 6'7". You have a very high IQ. You have your mother and your father's looks. Your parents are very attractive, so you are a handsome man. And I see the way the women look up at you when you walk in the dorm. Women are always going to be attracted to you, but you need to learn how to start your own business, because in the event that you fall for that attraction, or that you get sucked into that, you might lose everything. They might kick you out. You might lose that job, or he may just decide he don't want you around because you're too much of a competitor to him, right? So you've got to have a plan B. You need to learn how to start your own business. No intelligent black man or black woman in America should be allowed to grow up in this world without having the basic skills to invest, build their own business, and have their own independent wealth. If you are intelligent, now stupid people don't count. Lazy people don't count. Weak ass people don't count. I'm talking to the people who are able-bodied. I'm talking to the folks who can go get good jobs, who got the degrees, who have all the skills, even if you don't have the degrees, right? Who are working hard every day. If you are in that category, then you should be working hard to build your legacy and your last name as hard as you're working to build that other man's business. Because when the shit really hits the fan, when the rubber meets the road, when it's their values against your values, and if you're not on the home field, you will never have the home field advantage. They're always going to be able to pull out that trump card and remind you at the end of the day, Negro, this is my company, so we're going by my rules, even if my rules don't make no sense to you, because your opinion does not matter. You don't have a vote in this organization, because ownership is all that matters when it comes to wealth and power. Do you understand what I'm saying? Give me a yes in the chat if you get what I'm saying. So anyway, that's all I have to say about this. I'm going to bounce out. I want to remind everybody, don't forget the All Black National Convention's coming up. If you're into this kind of stuff and you want to network with other Black people who think the way we do, then I hope you'll join us. We're going to be in Charlotte, North Carolina, October 28th through the 30th. There's only about maybe 28 days left, so about 4 weeks from now. So I hope that you will join us. If you're watching on Instagram, you can hit the link in the bio. There are links to get passes. There are links to become a vendor and make money if you want to make money and sell your products. And there's also a link to a volunteer. If your money's tight and you want to volunteer, we're putting together our army of volunteers, and we'll select among that group for the people that can volunteer. All the volunteers get in for free. So anyway, guys, that's it. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you for listening. God bless you. And Ime Udoka, if you hear this conversation and you want to call me personally and just get my 2 cents on it, brother, I'll be more than happy to share that with you. I think that I think he was wrong based on what I know. Maybe there's more to it. Maybe I'll find out more later on. But right now, I feel like he was done wrong. And I'm just kind of tired of living in this world where somehow we think that because someone was attracted to him and slept with him, that he should be treated like he's a predator. No, he broke the rules, but that doesn't make him unethical. Those are two different things. So anyway, guys, have a good day. God bless you. Hit the thumbs up button on your way out. I'll see you soon. Take care. Peace.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm, great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones too late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boy's TV. Here we are.